thing is Fnatic made their statement in spring by first picking Lucian, by first picking Galio, by blind picking Vayne. They attack in that bottom lane. They play aggressive bot laners, and Sona Taric is so defensive.
It absolutely is, and I expect change here from them because yes, they throw down the gauntlet. They say, who can beat us early on? Well, Origen absolutely proved that here. Now, when we see Fnatic pick the blue side, we look at what is the first pick going to be, and it forces bans here from Origen. It's Kayle, it's Sylas, it's Karthus. Lissandra is now open.
Also
Fnatic,
Rek'Sai.
Also the Rek'Sai. There is the Jarvan IV respawn. I expect it to be the Lissandra with Nemesis in the game. You can secure that for your mid laner. It's great roaming potential for dives on either bot lane or top lane in a strong mid-jungle 2v2.
But what will come through in the end, it looks like jungle priority may just be the name of the game here. As predicted, Ender Rek'Sai now locked in.
Yeah, Froskurinn nailed that one, but it's actually a surprise to me because in their series last week, they actually valued the Jarvan over the Rek'Sai. They were comfortable taking that matchup for the stronger teamfight engage. But what this says to me is they care less about the teamfight and more about the early game and setting Broxah up to empower his lanes.
The concern is the second rotation could be Jarvan Galio and looking for the all-in cannibal.
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay, this is crazy. So I was curious if both teams could play it. When we were doing our prep for Fnatic, we saw that Rekkles was playing the Sona Taric, but now this adds another dimension to the mind games. Was it a denial because you also know that Patrik and Mithy play it? And will this be the defining duo of this series? Will we have people banning the Taric and the Sona because it's clear that Fnatic can't play it very well?
Yeah, or will we have teams saying, yes, take it, we can smash you early on, and that's exactly what Fnatic are drafting for. They snagged themselves the Lissandra, so there's very strong ability to move towards this bottom lane and set up plays because when Bwipo is on the Aatrox, he is very self-serving. He goes top lane when he's level 6, you cannot punish this man, so he can be left on an island to let Fnatic snowball and shut down this bomb.
And on the side of Fnatic, comfort picks are the name of the game. You got the Rek'Sai for Broxah, you got Bwipo on the Aatrox, you got Lissandra in the mid lane. We're almost at that picture-perfect Fnatic composition, but it's Origen who are throwing us the curveball, who are running it back, who are saying anything you can do, we can do better with the Sona Taric.
I mean, this looks almost exactly like the graphic we ran in the pre-game show. The only thing you're missing is the Braum and the Sivir, and it looks like Origen are just tunneled in on that. Get rid of the Sivir, we'll see if the Braum goes next.
Braum, very good for setting up plays around the bottom lane. We actually heard Yamato Cannon talk about how good he thinks Hylissang's Braum is. But Origen, they don't want to taste their own medicine. The Blitzcrank banned away here, and I wonder, is this just a pick that everyone is practicing to try and shut down the Sona Taric bot lane?
Now, what I think's interesting here is that we talked about kind of that Sona Taric don't really fall on that attacking-oriented bot lane. It's a key moment for Rekkles and Hilly to kind of go back to that style to say, okay, we know how this works, we know how to counter it, let's play an all-in kill-oriented bot lane. But for Patrik and Mithy, I actually think it works a lot better for Origen holistically for them to be on more defensive picks than it does. Than it does for Fnatic.
What season are we in, Drakos?
You know, sometimes you miss Yellow Star. He's right there on stage, baby. Hylissang busting out to support Annie. This is what I love to see. We wanted a go button. This is a go button. The flash Annie ult to Lissandra, the Aatrox, the follow from Rek'Sai, and a Twitch for Rekkles to dish out so much damage. But now we have Kold on the Skarner, and we will see the last pick saved for Nukeduck to make sure he would be comfortable in that matchup, that there was no crazy flex coming out. It looks like the Ryze will be locked in.
Fnatic have the ultimate seek and destroy composition. You have Rek'Sai, Lissandra running around the map. You have an invisible Twitch here for Rekkles that can pair up with something like a Moby Boot Annie with the flash to find the engage and to find those AoEs. They are going to be looking to blow up this Sona Taric duo before they can even have the Cosmic Radiance come down to save them.
But on the other side, you have so much mobility and the ability to play a 5v5 as well as start making these picks. So if Fnatic aren't able to immediately blow someone out with this seek and destroy composition, it's very easy for the Skarner to come wiggling out of the woodwork, for the Ryze to use the Realm Warp, and for Origen to collapse upon Fnatic and rip them apart.
And after what was just an Origen-dominated Game 1, Fnatic fans are looking for Fnatic to make a statement, and Annie Twitch bot lane is absolutely a statement. But if it falls here, if they lose to the same lane they pulled out in Game 1, that has to destroy your mental game.
And the question was, what has Fnatic shown in playoffs? Well, clearly not all that much because they play Sona Taric in Game 1. They've got the Twitch Annie here in Game number 2. They have been sitting on these picks, and they are now ready to show up in Rotterdam.
Absolutely are. Well, we saw an impressive Zed from Nukeduck in Game 1. You can check out his Ryze on the POV stream at twitch.tv/RiotGames2 as we gear up for our second game. And I mean, we got this is This is insane.
I knew it was going to be the bait, though, for the POV. You see Nukeduck there. He's playing Zed. Everyone's like, yes, smash that. I want to see the Zed played again. This game is Ryze versus Lissandra.
Ooh.
I'm going to tell you, not much is going to happen in that matchup.
Aftershock v Aftershock. Who can do less damage to each other in the lane phase? Well, we will find out. I think all eyes have to be on the jungle matchups and on those bottom lanes as we get ready for our second game. Origen currently have the one-game advantage. Can Fnatic pull it back? Can they show us more here as we get ready for game 2?
Hopping into this match, I can't help but look at the rundowns of what these players are taking, specifically honing in on the Twitch and the Annie. And for Hylissang, I was actually wondering, was it going to be something like a Glacial Augment where he goes for Twin Shadows to have a little bit more CC? Instead, it is the Electrocute. So it's less about the crowd control and much more just about blowing you the hell up.
That's the most Hylissang thing I've ever seen.
But
Electrocute Annie.
This is perfect, though. Again, Hilly is a player that plays so much with confidence and momentum, and when he starts getting going, he completely changes games. And so I need Hilly to really pop off, if you're a Fnatic fan, for them to find success for the rest of the series. I feel like if they're stalled out here, you know, going down 0-2 games, you think, okay, Fnatic are a team, they have enough experience, they'd be able to come back possibly in this best of 5, but you're not going to get the same performance out of Rekkles and Hilly, who have really reached into like the Mary Poppins bag to pull out this Twitch Annie. I don't know what else is in there.
Is it going to be bottomless? Is this going to be enough? Already seeing some early aggressive trading in the mid lane and the bot lanes. Now going to take up their places here. Rekkles and Hylissang are getting to the lane first and can get lane priority if they want to, but have to be careful. Obviously, Sona and Taric still a decent threat here early on in the game.
I still just feel that this is a play style that matches to Patrik and Mithy's wheelhouse a bit more. They play a lot of the Ashe, the Tahm Kench, so more of these kind of like defensive-oriented bot lanes. So I think they'll probably have a better go at this than Rekkles and Hilly did. Whereas, you know, the kill-oriented lane, Twitch and Annie, this is exactly what I wanted from Fnatic. They made the adjustments. Now can they execute on it?
Yeah, also notice some differences in summoner spells between Patrik and Rekkles, because in Rekkles' Sona game, he was running the teleport, I believe, whereas this time around, Patrik has the barrier. So he knows that when you're going to be getting jumped on a whole lot, having multiple shields with the Seraphs as well when it gets completed is going to help you out.
That's the respect Twitch and Annie summoner choice.
Not even taking the heal. Respects the Ignite as well. Just
Mithy's got the heal for him. They're full defense.
Survival is the name of the game here on the bottom side.
But then that means, what can they do with the rest of their map? You have Nukeduck, who on the Ryze is just going to go back and forth about the priority between him and Lissandra, that classic tug of war in the mid lane. It should be all about Alphari, abusing this Jace pick right now where he has the priority. So I don't know if that necessarily means spamming him with ganks, but at least isolating and protecting him so he can try to look for the 1v1s.
Jarvan pick coming out for Alphari. I mean, just generally, when Alphari is looking comfortable, OG just looks so much better. And Bwipo, we've seen be a monster on this Aatrox, so having something that can bully him out a little bit, that can shut him down early on and play aggressive on the top side is a good look for OG.
Also, this Jarvan matchup is very strong into a lot of picks because of his heightened range. You know, he has 175 melee range on his basic attacks, but also poke with the Q as well as the E. The flag and drag combo, very powerful here to bully around this Aatrox before he hits level 6.
Still needs to be very careful, and I feel like the top lane's really going to go down to the junglers, and again, not necessarily spamming ganks in the lane, but who gets control over that top scuttle crab, because Whip was like, my jungler's not here, they're looking for the invade on the blue buff, I just have to take this, because it can be a skill-based matchup. Now
check out what Broxah is doing here. He cleared his whole bottom side of the jungle, waited around mid lane to see where is Kold. He spotted him top side, clearing away the Scuttle Crab, picks up the Scuttle Crab, and then has priority. So it's a very smart timing play from him to walk in to take away the blue buff and get the 3 buff up against Kold.
And we saw this exact same early game play in our previous matchup where bot lane priority was used to pressure out, to invade that early jungle, to disrupt a little bit. But last time around, it was Broxah being disrupted. This time, he's on the forward foot. He's on a more aggressive early game pick like the Rek'Sai.
And now, because Broxah actually saw Kold down there on the bottom side of the map, his bottom lane is relatively safe. You know, they got a ward in the Tri-Brush to spot out a potential lane gank from Kold, and Broxah, at the same time that Kold is going to be walking topside to clear his own camps, will then clear out his camps that he left for a little while. That means he's going to be pathing down, so the next time Kold has a window to try and gank this bottom lane, Broxah will also be there to punish.
And now we should see the dynamic shift towards the top side of the map. Both top laners should be aware that Fnatic or both junglers will actually be on this top side of the map, so they really need to neutralize that lane. Alphari can no longer just play hyper-aggressive here.
I have to call it out again. Broxah playing for his lanes. You know, a lot of people might watch this and say, wasted time, but he says, okay, Kold, he just went back to base, he has Predator boots, he could look for a gank top lane, so he spent some time there, but he missed the window.
Alphari now stepping forward, Kold gonna look in, they're gonna try to finish this kill off. Bwipo has the flash, he's gonna be forced to burn it now. Stun comes in, but the flash committed, first blood. TP on the backside though, Fnatic ready to turn this play. Rek'Sai moving forward, Broxah ready with a flash of his own if he needs it, but they're gonna take the 1-for-1 onto Kold. Well played by Fnatic to get the exchange.
Fnatic always do this. You make a play on a side lane, and they have double teleports to try and respond. This time it's Nemesis coming top lane to help out Bwipo. And if you noticed what was happening on the map, Nukeduck had just finished his recall channel. He didn't have mana, so he wasn't comfortable teleporting in to try and make that a 3v2.
Yeah, excellent call from Nemesis right there to immediately pull the trigger. And this is kind of a different change of pace than when we saw Nemesis first joining the squad. He looks like a completely different mid laner, and showcasing why Fnatic have so much faith in him and why Fnatic fans need to have faith in him.
Yeah, and I think a big change for Fnatic when it went from the 1-5 Fnatic to the team that won all of their games in the second half of the split was between Broxah and Nemesis. Broxah became much more active early game, and Nemesis was playing not so much for his own lane, but to roam and set up his side lanes for success.
And I do want to point out kind of the little mini lane swap that's been performed between Bwipo and Nemesis here. The reason why they did this is that Alphari didn't have his flash and then didn't have his TP, and so he was trying to be greedy, wait for the wave to get pushed in underneath his tower and pick up all of that CS. But by sending Bwipo into the mid lane, Nemesis and Broxah forced Alphari off the tower, making sure that he also lost something in this exchange.
And while the dive was good in the first blood, it's obviously very good for OG. It feels like with Nukeduck's back timing, with that smart swap that you were talking about, it doesn't seem like Fnatic lost anything outside of that TP. It feels like they matched very equally in the trade without potentially giving up some CS in the mid lane in favor of Nukeduck or really anything else.
Yeah, you can actually see in their CS across the board in both top and mid lane that they're even, if not slightly ahead.
Yeah, it's a very big difference from game number 1. Meanwhile, bottom lane, going to be the biggest difference where Rekkles has that 600 gold lead over Patrik before he can try to farm up. Again, you have to wait to have your support item tick over before you can look to get those minions.
Patrik playing very safe, Rekkles going to back off here in the end, but a very different game as well in the sense that Patrik and Mithy have relatively gotten through this lane unscathed. There's just not the burst at this point. There's no Blitzcrank hook here, but when level 6 comes around, it could be a very different story. The burst of the Annie and the Twitch versus the unkillableness, let's say, of the Sona and Taric.
Yeah, that's the terrifying thing. You're then also giving Twitch a free lane of all champions, and he is absolutely devastating.
See what's happening, though. Fnatic let the lane push in for the very first time. They have a good control ward to let Broxah sneak in, but Kold smells it. He's on a ward, but Fnatic, they're looking for the 3v3.
Coming out, trying to find the opportunity to turn the play. Dazzle goes in, Mithy flashes to keep the play going. Broxah's now on the backside. They desperately want to kill Hylissang. They're going to get one. They need to turn on the Broxah, but that is a level 6 Rek'Sai now coming in. No level 6 for Patrik. He has to pull back. Healing coming out. Will it be enough to deny the Rek'Sai? Not quite, but Broxah should go down in the exchange. Rekkles going to be the last man standing as Patrik finds the kill.
And right now, Nemesis is walking down through the river. He was trying to reply, but it's not going to happen. Kold with a great move to come in through the lane. They're able to burst down this Annie, who has very low base stats when it comes to HP, but man, nice start for them.
Nukeduck actually did his responsibility as well, pushing forward to keep Nemesis locked down so he couldn't also respond. But because he was so low mana, he wasn't going to pull the trigger in the same way that Nemesis did early on by teleporting bottom.
And it does feel like Nukeduck has had all of his mana forced out, just trying to clear this wave, hasn't been able to roam out of lane to find it in these plays, and has been limited under this tower. We'll see how it works as he gets a bit more mana under. He has the tier, he has the fairy charm. But for now, Nemesis, holding on to this lane priority.
It is worth pointing out that Fnatic didn't opt for a heavy early game. Twitch isn't an insane early game champion when it comes to playing around him. The barrier also coming in clutch from Patrik right there, and you can see the flash follow there from Mithy. Hylissang popped his own flash a little bit too fast, and because Broxah went for the huge wraparound and wasn't able to be in the fight from the start, the 3v3 was a loss. Had he been there initially, I think they actually would have won.
Still, faster reset from Fnatic. They still have control of that bottom lane, and it does extend into a trade for the Infernal. So still lead for Fnatic here.
Absolutely is the case. Of course, just checking in across the board. We'll go to even. The Infernal, as you mentioned, really the only thing to show for it thus far, but his level 6s are now coming in. This could start to be a series of explosive plays as Patrik steps forward, ready to just bully Broxah out.
Yeah, because Nemesis was coming off of a reset. Nukeduck was able to move over first, so Broxah was not able to repeat and steal away that blue buff still. Fnatic should still be looking to play around this bottom side of the map. Both of the bot laners from OG lost their summoner spells. Patrik is very, very vulnerable at the moment, and Fnatic still have all their beautiful vision to set up for a gank here from Broxah.
And not only do they have the advantage of Nemesis having so much priority over Nukeduck in this Ryze right now, but his teleport's going to be off of cooldown because Nukeduck used his TP to get back into lane. So there is a big cooldown mismatch, and that's why Fnatic are going to constantly look for this play for kind of the next 3 minutes.
Moving over the wall is going to force out immediately the ulti. Can they turn on to Broxah? Very difficult position to find themselves in. Rekkles ready to step forward, but forcing that ultimate out of the Taric gives them a big window of opportunity.
Do you think that was a fake out, using the claw to try to get the Sona ultimate and then not pulling on it?
Yeah, I absolutely do think it was, because ultimately you're never going to be able to make that play work without a flash on someone like Broxah to start that one off, because the crescendo always comes in. The big flaw from OG was actually using both of those ultimates. The communication should have been, crescendo is enough to stop the engage. We don't need to use the Cosmic Radiance. So that's why there's actually a lot more resources from Origen coming down bottom side. They're freezing the wave under their turret because they know without flashes and without the defensive ultis, well, they're just sitting ducks waiting to be killed.
Absolutely, and the difficult spot now is that we do not see the fully stacked Frostfang in the pocket of Patrik yet at this point of the game. Really needs to get that fully stacked, only at 445 gold, and if he's trapped under his tower, if he can't hit his lane opponents, he's not really going to get any more stacks. Now, however, we see the dive on the top side. Alphari in trouble, tries to use the Cataclysm, but just gets absolutely dunked.
And Alphari now no longer has the benefit of having his jungler behind him to keep him safe, and Bwipo and friends make full abuse of that. And those guys were just bottom and suddenly instantaneously topside.
Yeah, solo plate there for Bwipo as well. You can see Broxah starting up the Herald. This is what Fnatic do so well. Play around tempo, around their mid laner to look for dives on the opposite sides of the map. You don't have to just say, we're going to split the map down mid and play purely for bot. They can also look for the top half as well.
Right now, things are looking a little bit difficult for the side of OG. The Sona Taric just hasn't, it doesn't really feel like it's ever come online across the series thus far, but they might be close.
Give it time, this game. Give it time. I don't think it's too far out just yet.
Well, it's only about a 600 gold deficit this time around, where it feels like Rekkles was put so much further in the hole by that blitzcrank from Mithy.
Interesting time for a replay.
They're okay in the mid lane. Don't worry about that. But you can see this dive. Again, it's a reset from Kold and Nukeduck at the same time. There's a huge wave crashing top lane. This is showing a little bit of difference in the pathing of these two junglers, where Kold didn't actually expect Fnatic to be so active and make the play bot immediately rotate top, whereas Fnatic, they saw the window and they went for the play.
But I do want to go back to that point that you were bringing up, Drakos, about this idea of, you know, give it time for Sona and Taric to really show what this duo can do, because there's a lot of key differences in this iteration of the Sona-Taric composition versus what we saw in Game 1. And the first one for me is that there are so many more hard engage options rather than just a Scion and flash crescendo.
Speaking of hard engage, Kold is on his way up top for Bwipo.
Bwipo has to be smart about how he's going to play this one out. TP.
It got canceled.
About to see how that one happened. Now the flash forward is going to look for the stun here. Bwipo in trouble. I believe no passive. Not going to be able to get anything else. Ultimate doesn't come out. Kold going to grab the kill.
I believe that was Nemesis trying to come up, but canceled out there by Nukeduck. Good move there from Kold, and now he's the one on the Herald. Fnatic can't make a response play. If anything, should maybe be looking to go for a dive around that bottom lane. Patrik actually just lost his flash and barrier. I'm not sure how that happened, but a big lack of summoner spells for that carry.
I would imagine just having to respect the positioning of Hilly. Anytime this Annie walks up, the Sona really needs to respect it, because the potential of dive is massive, and you can see the Fnatic are trying to set up for just that, actually going really deep around a lot of this vision.
So now what is the difference here between these two teams? Well, Patrik is going to be heavily denied. It looks like the support item did tick over and upgrade, but Fnatic are going to take this first tower in the bottom lane. There's only 30 seconds now for Kold to use the Rift Herald if he wants to get plates himself, but instead he takes the 4-second recall timer and is not going to pop that immediately.
So in general, taking this early game from the previous game's early game, it still feels better for Fnatic because they are the 5v5 oriented team, and they're now actually going to get to a point where they'll have a successful 5v5. Whereas in the first game, Origen were so good at ripping across the map and pulling Fnatic's 5v5 apart and dominating with that 1v1. Now, on that side, Origen also have a very strong 5v5 with the Sona Taric, and I'm wondering if it's going to be enough to contest Fnatic where they're strong.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the replay of what happened bottom lane. Hylissang was just sitting in a bush with the Hex Splash and the stun on Tibbers. It's been unfortunate we haven't seen a whole lot shot out of this Annie and making use of the ultimate, trying to shut down this Sona Taric, but certainly going to be seeing more of that now as the flash is back up, and Fnatic post 15 minutes should be looking for more skirmishes around the jungle to try and snowball a little bit more.
And with Moby boots available for Hylissang, as well as the invisibility that is there for Rekkles on the Twitch, it feels like they can appear anywhere if teams are not ready for them. One item Twitch, obviously not super terrifying, but if he gets the jump on you, can be a lethal threat.
Oh, Broxah sniping away the red buff and forcing Alphari out of the jungle. Notice there are no Origen members near this top lane tower, so with the minions here, Fnatic might just take another. They've got another wave on the way as well. Origen, they do have the Herald and can look to push mid. That could be a big difference maker in terms of tempo.
Yeah, that's that key thing. It's that they have the Herald, and that's why they have the confidence to do that. There is TP available on Nukeduck, but I'm curious when Fnatic are going to call their bluff, if they're going to look for a flank at all or try to push through.
So right now, Nemesis moved down Broxah as well, and after they take the turret, they will make the rotation as well. So Claw comes in, and look at the respect Origen are giving them. I don't think they actually have good vision spotting out the moves here from the side of Fnatic, so they don't even reply with the mid lane tower.
Not going to get anything there. Crushing. Definitely not what you want to see on the side of OG. They were so incredibly far ahead in our first game, and now it's a very, very different story as Fnatic just continue to build up this gold lead. 3 towers to 0, an Infernal to an Ocean. Massive difference here early on, and Hylissang just waiting, looking, fishing for that opportunity to find a kill.
So I want to point out kind of something cool about Fnatic's compositions, because they like the Kai'Sa, they like the Vayne, and now also pulling up the Twitch. Now, we usually think about Fnatic as kind of that 5v5 or that 1-4 team, but when they faced Vitality, and now when they faced Origen, teams that are known to go into 1-3-1, they like to put Rekkles on these ADCs that can also play out into a side lane because they have either assassination or dueling potential. If you think about the Vayne, her ability to assassinate or duel. If you think about the Kai'Sa, her ability to swing out with W, and now the Twitch, the same thing. I think it's just kind of a very creative element of their drafts of, okay, we don't know what kind of look we're going to get from our opponent. If they fight us in the 5v5, we've got late game scaling insurance policy. If they fight us in the side lane, we're also able to match that with these specific champions.
And interestingly enough, we see Fnatic just taking control of just about the entire bottom side of the map, setting up Bwipo to sustain that split push. We're now checking on the mid lane. Origen doing what they can to hold. Sona starting to CS is a good sign, working towards that Archangel staff. But Rekkles on the way to a second item already, and Twitch, like most 3-item carries, is pretty terrifying once he has a bit more attack speed and an Infinity Edge to back him up.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Twitch, especially here in Europe, but the late game AoE teamfight damage with the spray and play, as well as the breaking the attack speed cap with lethal tempo, means you can get so much damage out on this carry, especially in those tight corridors where multiple people are lining up for those shots to go ahead and hit you. But if we actually reframe how we're looking at this game and look through the lens of Origen, I think one thing to point out, by the way, Cap's joining us after the game. Hello.
Hello.
He also showed up in the announcement.
Whoa! Gradients isn't going to be enough to take out Patrik before the invulnerability drops. Nukeduck now desperate to get something back. Hylissang has been taken out. Mithy going to try to find the kill, going to try to extend the play. Still a ton of healing for the Taric here. Nemesis locked up under the tower. Bwipo doing what he can to pull back. Wanted to tank the turret there, but Nemesis is going to be able to make it out. Fnatic now have to back off.
Oh, they're not. They're going in.
Taking out Bwipo. Huge play from OG to turn.
Classic Fnatic, use caps as a distraction, look for the dive, but they bite off more than they can chew, and a good swing for Origen here.
That's actually another really poor turret dive. The first one happened in game 1 from Fnatic, another one right here. They had the right idea. Assassinate Sona at the start of the fight to eliminate the healing, the massive healing coming through from Origen, but unfortunately, it's 17 minutes in. 5v5 under a tower is not a good look for the squad.
It's also about that very quick assassination and burst, instantly deleting someone, because in sustained fights, it's not just about the Sona, it's also about the Taric, it's also about the Ryze and the Skarner. Sustained fights are really hard to fight into Origen's comp.
And you look at the Ryze damage right now, definitely going to out DPS the Twitch in a lot of these circumstances, and I feel like we have to look at Rekkles to a certain degree to see if there's any follow-up.
Yeah, but check the flank here from Hylissang and Broxah coming in from opposite sides. They get the immediate explosion, but Nukeduck absent at the start of the fight. Realm warps in, and when Rekkles has to run away, you realize Fnatic don't actually have a fight anymore. They're stalling out underneath the tower, buying time to try and flash away here if you are Nemesis, but that's the fatal flaw. Bwipo turning around for one extra Q. Nukeduck sees the moment and grabs it with the flash forward.
But it's just the kill that Origen are picking up, because Fnatic Fnatic did a good job making sure that both the bottom wave and the top wave, which you can see Origen are now trying to reset, were pushed far forward. So it's not like Origen could grab the kill and then immediately rotate it into an objective. It was basically just a map reset after that.
That's fair, but if you are in the mind of Origen, like those are the wins you're so happy to take, because again, trading even or trading even slightly ahead is so good with this composition. You just need time here for Patrik to finish off the Lich Bane, get some more damage in these fights here if you are the Sona. But on the side of Fnatic, what I will be looking at as we move further into this game is when does the magic resistance come in, because it's a Ryze and it's a Sona. There's not a whole lot of physical. It's just going to be the Jarvan and a full tank Skarner as well. So Fnatic, if they're able to stack the resistances, should have a much better chance here against OG.
And it just feels like a shotgun from Fnatic. If they can find the shot, if they can get that point-blank shot onto the front line of OG, they can just rip through this entire team, the back line rather. But if they can't, the sustain on the opposite side is just so incredibly immense, and if the Twitch is in the, it's just a lot of pressure.
I just feel like this is a situation where both teams of comms are like, it's fine, we can do, like, we have X, we can scale with the Twitch, we can play out in the side lanes with the Jarvan and the Ryze, we can look for better lane assignments, so it's really unclear, like, both teams probably feel comfortable and strong where they are versus someone being like, back up.
Flash forward. Hylissang might not even get a chance to use the ultimate. Rekkles waiting in the lane, but not going to even step back. Hylissang taken out. OG now with control over the mid lane.
Yep, Fnatic were not willing to play the QSS tax against the Skarner, so Kold will use the flash to get the kill. They're not actually moving in towards mid because they don't have the minions to actually take the tower.
But again, it's one of those situations. Origen find a pick and they expend a lot for it. A Skarner ultimate, a flash, and at best they're going to finally push down this mid tower. Maybe. It looks like Fnatic are trying to set up a fight here. Alphari on the flank. This could be devastating.
This should go down.
Nemesis has the TP. They are going to try to step forward. The stun comes in. Chain CC follows up. Bwipo potentially in trouble. After the crescendo, now comes out the Taric ultimate as well. They're going to be invulnerable under the tower. Rekkles is going to get taken down. Massive. Nemesis now here as well. Alphari could lose his life in the exchange. Tries to flag and drag his way back, but Fnatic holding onto the tower. Alphari guaranteedly dead here, and another fumbled dive in this game.
Yeah, I don't know about that stopwatch there from Alphari. He was pretty dead there. They do trade the kill on towards Rekkles, so in terms of overall map state, it is worth, but now it's Fnatic with control of mid.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the tempo back in this side.
Whoa.
They look for the re-engage now, trying to find it, but there's not a lot of sustain ultimates available on the side of OG. They're still trying to find the kill onto Hylissang. He could just get taken out, but the shutdown now onto Nukeduck. That's the major damage source. Broxah taking down Patrik on the axe side, and it's going to be a wash. Absolute destruction for Fnatic.
It's a triple kill for Broxah here on the Rek'Sai. They move straight over towards the Baron. OG overstayed and got collapsed.
And reminder how much they gave up trying to make that mid tower fall. It was a flash Skarner ultimate on the initial pick. It was then the Taric ultimate, the the stopwatch from Alphari, and they didn't even get the mid tower and now lose the Baron.
And they say, hey, we got your AD carry. We can still fight in this mid lane, but mid-game Rek'Sai is nothing to laugh at. Fnatic's composition just smashed Origen. And all of a sudden, the game's blown wide open. It was close just a second ago.
And that's the risk. You play this composition against a team who's practiced it themselves. They know how to shut it down. They take the Sona out of the fight. They take the Ryze out. They know all the damage is gone, and it's all too easy. And in this Alienware replay, we can see exactly how this tower dive went wrong.
Yeah, so this is the initial play from Origen after they killed the Annie. You can see Alphari waiting on the side. He thinks he's just getting a Bwipo, but it's like, oh, 2-for-1 deal. Rekkles without the flash will be taken down immediately. But as Origen have to walk away, you realize Alphari doesn't actually have a flash of his own. Nemesis entered the fight as well, so he was going nowhere, regardless of if he used the stopwatch. But this fight, this re-engage, watch Broxah. What does he do here? Because it starts off with Hylissang jumping forward and finding the engage onto Mithy and Nukeduck. Broxah looks straight for Patrik in the bat line. Through barrier, he's still able to assassinate it. The true damage coming in from the E, it's massive. He snipes the last kill there on towards Kold, gets the knock-up for the extra last hit as well. He really just killed one person that fight, but he picks up 3.
Oh, Bwipo sound effect.
And we wanted to know what Fnatic mental looked like after that first game. Well, it looks like things are still pretty good. And Kold, yeah.
I don't know about that one, guys.
Not shaking his head. He pushed stopwatch, and that 2.5 seconds, his entire team died. It was not a good look. But now, Fnatic poised in the mid lane. They have the Baron buff as well. Massive advantage to this team after what was just a crushing Game 1 defeat. They have brought it back here in Game 2.
Look what they're doing, too. It's so good. After changing it up and picking up the Baron, they sent Broxah over to the side lane who can reposition and get over. with his tunnels relatively quickly. You know that Bwipo is probably more valuable in a siege because of that revive passive, and Broxah can just sit here laughing at Alphari as he buffs up the minions, and the rest of his team sets up the 1-3-1 to close out just like Origen did to them in Game 1.
And the thing is this time around, Rekkles is going to have a flash, so you can no longer just ult on top of him as the Jarvan, and with that one team fight, he also itemized into the QSS, so he has paid the tax, and there's not a viable target of trying to get this Twitch, so he just disengages for that next big 5v5, and he's going to lay out so much damage.
And Hylissang with flash level 11 as well, going to be massive on top of the Shurelya, so ready to kick off a fight at a moment's notice. OG have to play this perfectly if they do not want to just get deleted in what is an instant.
So again, what it has to be an engage onto the core 3-man unit here of Fnatic as the waves are coming in, but Fnatic giving respect here against the potential all-in. They're waiting for these side waves to collapse before they step up.
The problem is that this early in the game, everyone on Fnatic still does ridiculous amounts of damage. Even if you do manage to find a good target with that crescendo, let's say it is the core 3, you're still going to get blown up by the Rek'Sai. You're still going to get blown up by the Aatrox.
Broxah potentially caught out here. OG need to be careful though. Bwipo now moving forward as the rest of the team is in the mid lane. Bwipo buying time for that tower to be taken down. Now pulled back and vulnerability is there, but no one's actually doing any damage to OG. Feels like a big fumble on those cooldowns. Origen have to respect the potential for a re-engage here. Eyes on Hylissang. Where's he going to go? Good stun to stop Nemesis. Annie is ready. Moment's notice. OG group up. They are all but certainly set to die here.
Fnatic, they're still playing. They get the inhibitor, they go in!
In the middle of the team. Hylissang now going to look for the follow-up. Eyes on Twitch now. All of the damage going to come in, but the power cord is there. No, the instant QSS. Rekkles now firing free into the backline. Nukeduck desperate to get something back. OG are surviving for now. 4 members still alive, but the tower is being chunked away in a very close fight.
The towers are not your friend. They're the enemy, Fnatic. You got to leave it alone. Underneath the structure, Origen are able to kite back and take a winning fight.
But ultimately, their inhib is still down, so still a big win as Fnatic have really cracked open this game, and they're only going to scale even harder. We're in a situation exactly like game number 1, where it feels like this is just going to be a secondary Baron rinse and repeat. I don't know how strong this Sona Taric combo is going to be. We said, is this going to define the series? Is this going to be about trading back and forth? At this rate, Origen have failed with it, Fnatic have failed with it, let it die.
And it has defined the series in its own way, Froskurinn. Now we see how intense this series has become. Fnatic poised to take the Game 2 victory to tie this series up and take us to 3 potential final games in this beautiful engage.
Yeah, I feel like Origen just had the wrong read initially here, looking to force on towards Broxah, but then it's a huge overcommitment from Bwipo, who used the World Ender, his ultimate, earlier to zone away all the members of Origen while the rest of his team took down the inhibitor. So it was a rather big blunder there from Fnatic, overreaching to try and get a second inhibitor tower.
And a great Cassandra from Patrik, even if it was QSS by Rekkles there, still denies a lot of the damage, a lot of the follow-up here from this team. And Twitch, we're kind of waiting to see that third item. Once IE comes out, it's going to be a very different story in these fights, but for now, OG holding their own, and the Sona and Taric just continue to get stronger and stronger here.
Yeah, they have this window where they can creep out of their base. They have to run it down the mid lane because they have to push back against the super minions. And now that they've gotten control over this mid lane tower, they can start pivoting and start getting control of the Scuttle Crab and defensive vision around this Baron.
Well, as we gear up, a reminder that after the game, you can watch the Spring Split MVP break down everything as Caps join Shocks and Yamato Cannon at the analyst desk. But as we focus back in, Baron 49 seconds away. OG actually in a decent position, I think, to contest this time around. It feels like they're going to have all of their major team fighting ultimates up and available.
Yeah, because they won that fight in terms of numbers advantage, they pushed through the mid lane and got vision down on the Baron. They took the Scuttle Crab. It was the only time they were ever going to be allowed to enter this river and put down vision. Unfortunately, the problem is that Rekkles just completed his Infinity Edge. There's a Guardian Angel now on towards Broxah. The team fight doesn't look good here from Origen.
So we need to pay attention to how Origen are then layering their cooldowns. Who is their target selection? Because they still have all of the tools on this kit that they can deal with a massive Twitch ultimate as long as the invulnerability comes down, as long as the crescendo connects. You know, maybe they grab the Skarner, they force out an early QSS in a very defensive positioning, but it needs to be picture perfect.
Absolutely has to be, because there's no flash for Rekkles. Yes, he has the heal. Yes, he has the QSF. Skarner going to find him a difficult target, but Jarvan can leap straight onto him, can lock him down, and make the follow-up easy for the rest of the team. Kold now running forward. Hylissang ready to re-engage at a moment's notice.
Yeah, they used the Shurelya's Reverie actually to disengage there, so Hylissang using that both for the offense and the defense. Notice where Nemesis is at the moment. He's on the side inside of the jungle here for Fnatic, going to be regrouping with the rest of his team, because what Fnatic want to do is they want to push out this next wave as far forward as they possibly can, because that means when their own super minions are going to come, Origen can't clear it at a neutral position in mid lane. They're going to have to wait very far back, which gives them so much more control over the jungle, and and as a byproduct, over the Baron.
It's a very quick trade of who has tempo and who has control. It feels like Fnatic are trying to make Origen bend to their will by pulling them around with the minion waves, but Origen still have teeth.
Gage coming over the wall. They're trying to delete the jungle. It's going to open up the path for them to go straight to Baron, and they've got their eyes set on the prize. OG need to respond, or they're going to lose this one, and likely a few inhibitors as well.
But without the jungler, you can't go for the steal. You must go for a 4 versus 5 fight. Now, a ward over the wall will see Broxah enter the pit. They have vision at the moment. Do they find the engage? Can they find Rekkles without his flash?
Still has Tibbers up and available. Hex Flash available as well. He's going to go over the wall. They're going to try to find the chain CC. Hylissang off to the side. Patrik still alive and well. Invulnerability going to fall. Hylissang ready to get on the backside. OG need to find a win in this fight. Nukeduck stepping forward. Hylissang trying to delay the Sona. It might just be enough. The shutdown is coming through the Baron in the hands of Fnatic. But OG ready to wipe the fight. Realm Warp comes out. There is no right choice for Hylissang, and he is doomed to die as the triple comes out for Nukeduck.
Where Origen were united, Fnatic stood apart. They had different ideas. Do they want to leave the pit? Do they want to turn and fight? Origen just waltzed in with 4 people and slammed them.
Because they had the tools. You had Hilly on the flank. You could have had the Lissandra Claw come over this wall, and Nemesis and Hilly could have attacked as one instantaneously. Instead, the decision to try to secure the Baron mean that Origen get the first punch.
Yeah, and Nemesis immediately falls down. Then Rekkles is stuck inside of this pit because he has nowhere else to go. Origen corralled him into the wall and meant there was no escape. Hylissang tries to escape here. It's not going to end up happening. They still have Crescendo out of all of that, so it's just 1 Baron buff on Broxah that remains, and that's not enough here for Fnatic.
I mean, the nice thing about it being on Broxah, at least, is we see that Fnatic feel comfortable sending him out into a side lane because he can skirt back with his tunnel access, but still, that is absolute disaster for Fnatic.
And we talk about the late game scaling of Twitch, absolutely terrifying. You see the 4K damage there, but look who is matching it on the opposite side. Nukeduck, no doubt someone you would herald as the captain of this team. When he is playing well, it feels like OG are unstoppable. And in these fights to come, it just feels like Nukeduck versus Rekkles.
Yes, it absolutely is in terms of damage, and it brings me back to the point, Fnatic, without a really strong tank frontline, are not building much magic resistance. It's basically just some QSSs and some Mercury treads, but that's not enough to survive the consistent DPS of a level 17 Ryze. Now, he has finished the Rabadon's death cap, so he's nothing to laugh at in these team fights.
I mean, that said, Rekkles still does have the range advantage against someone like a Ryze, but he has flash back up. I expect that Alphari is going to try to force that flash out again, and then kind of the next repeat team fight would be the big window for Origen if it gets that far.
Hylissang, though, stepping forward. They desperately want to get this inhibitor. It will be a massive advantage. Oh, knockback from Bwipo, but they're still going to try to find the fight. The invulnerability is going to come in. How much damage can Nukeduck get down before the invulnerability fades away? Nukeduck zoned away by the Lissandra. It's a clean fight so far. Rekkles waiting for his opportunity to get the fight, but he does not find it. OG taking this fight handily. Rekkles running for his life, hoping that stealth will save him. Him and Bwipo in the same place, on the retreat. Alphari now on the chase. The knockup comes out. Bwipo desperately trying to buy time as Rekkles.
They saw him on the
spotted the flash. Nukeduck now dominating. We said it would come down to these two in the fight, but it is Nukeduck who reigns supreme.
Once again, it is just Broxah escaping barely there, but Origen, they find the fight. They found the scaling, and now they've closed the gold gap. Their inhibitor has respawned. They're right back in this.
Their ability to just chop up Fnatic front to back there from the team fight because of the damage coming out of the Ryze, the range advantage for Twitch doesn't mean anything. And now Rekkles has burned the flash. This is such an easy team fight for Origen. The next team fight, that can be the nail in the coffin for Fnatic to put them up 2-0.
Yeah, and just watching this fight, I believe Rekkles gets jumped on towards and can't get auto attacks coming down. It's a good stop on the initial engage there on towards Alphari, but Rekkles, okay, the invulnerability comes down, he flashes away. Where are the auto attacks? They're just not happening. OG are taking no damage from the prime carry source of Fnatic, and that is just a disaster for their team fight.
Absolutely the case. We now see the Mountain Drake being taken as well, so the next Baron, no doubt, can be in a massive arena.
Ward too, man.
Cannot make it away to safety. This team is so incredibly mobile with the power of that Sona, the Ryze, the movement speed steroid as well. And you look at the last team fight.
What? Wait,
Alphari? All right,
there's no way that's right.
I'm gonna be honest, ladies and gentlemen, that is not how I expected those numbers to look. But this,
I mean, he did sit on that back line. That's basically Rekkles' health bar.
I mean, that's like 4
I was gonna say, I don't know.
I know, but he's like a good chunk of that.
Massive performance from Alphari. Even after getting the initial EQ combo knocked into the fight, does so much over the course of that.
I will say, looking forward to our next breakpoints, especially on the Fnatic side, because it's very clear now that they are not winning the team fights. And I think you see their composition sort of thrown together. They don't have a great front line. They have the tools to pick you off one by one and to jump on you from a mile away. But now that Rekkles has hit level 16, that is massive for the damage in these fights.
And that's the expectation we set for the Sona Taric in game 1, is that if you try to team fight them, you will absolutely not win. You have to blow somebody up. But we never saw it come to fruition. Fnatic were simply too far behind. But in this game, even when Fnatic looked so far ahead, OG have held on long enough that it feels like both of these picks are online.
But it feels like it's really scary now because the game is kind of that gravitation towards Baron. You know, we're going to see more big 5v5s unless someone tries to play cheeky with some of the vision, maybe set up some traps. And at this point, this is exactly where Origen want to be. They're grouped up, they've got the Sona behind them, they have the Taric, and they're just going to grind through them.
In a difficult spot to be, most certainly. I mean, after the crushing 3-0 versus G2, not a lot of people expected a lot from OG coming into this week. It's a reason so many people predicted in favor of Fnatic, but in this series thus far, there's no doubt that OG have been the superior team.
This is also Origen, if they win this game, showing that they can beat Fnatic in the early game, snowball and close appropriately, and then also contest Fnatic in a 5v5 late game.
TP here from Alphari. They're looking for the engage.
Rumble as well. They're trying to find the Rekkles caught in the middle of everybody. He's all but set to die. Rekkles taken down is massive. Hylissang next on the menu. Nemesis desperate. They just need to find the disengage. Baron 22 seconds away. It feels like it's all but guaranteed to go to OG.
It's the perfect engage from Origen. They have the teleport flank wards. They use the Realm Warp as well to deliver Kold on top of Rekkles. And with Baron spawning so soon, it makes it so easy for them to secure their first of the game.
Alphari stepping forward. Nemesis just going to take the claw out. 2 seconds till the Baron is up and available. OG should shift their attention there, but Nukeduck down on the bottom side, answering to Bwipo.
And you can see the call from Fnatic is, okay, if they're going to take the Baron, we don't want to contest it. Let's race up the mid lane and try to change an inhibitor. But good read from Origen to at least push Fnatic off the initial race.
Broxah here.
He's on wards, though.
Yeah, but maybe he can make the miracle steal. It's
Has
going
the
to be
blast
difficult.
cone.
Has the level advantage as well. 3K dropping. Where's it going to be? Knockup comes in from the Baron.
They're still hitting it.
Coordinated. Going over the wall. Power cord is going to miss. Broxah's in the middle of the pit. Who's going to get it in the end? But no. Kold manages to secure the Baron. Absolutely massive for the OG team. Hylissang now on the retreat, but Fnatic meanwhile are in the base. They've broken one inhibitor. They've broken 2 inhibitors. They're stalling. They're buying as much time as they can. The GA now popped. Hylissang on the retreat. They are going to be able to take down Broxah in the end. Moving.
They're looking for more. Look at the other side.
Opposite
It's
side of the fight.
everywhere.
Nukeduck has been split up, but Nukeduck is just simply too far ahead. It's the strongest members of OG right now taking on the individual solo laners of the opposite team. It's an absolute mess. Nemesis just barely able to make it out alive. OG have the Baron, but they haven't been able to do anything with it yet. Bwipo next to fall. They do take him down. Patrik now on a rampage.
This is a Baron to buff mid lane pushing Origen now storming towards Fnatic's base, and their backs are so delayed.
The game's just falling apart here from Fnatic. Origen take a gold lead for the first time in forever in game number 2. There's still so much time on the jungle and top laner of Fnatic. It is at least 1 inhibitor if you are Origen, and they have the tools. Just keep pushing in.
Power cord almost up, Cosmic Radiance almost up, Impale already up and available. No Cataclysm, but they might not need it. They can continue to push forward. Rekkles stepping forward. So much damage coming out from the Twitch. The issue what this is, are they going to be able to survive? Yes, the Cosmic Radiance comes down. They buy a bit more time, but Alphari sacrificed in the exchange, just burning the GA. Nemesis now trying to run, does get taken down. It is Rekkles versus the world, and there is just no hope here. In game 2, OG have turned all of the predictions on their head. They are set to move up to 2-0, to move up to match point versus Fnatic.
I don't know how they did it, but Origen turn a tragedy of a game into a victory here. They were down, they were out, but they trusted in the Sona Taric in the bottom lane. They had clutch engagements around the mid lane, and they found Rekkles every single time.
And you could see it on Fnatic's faces. Look at Broxah, look at Rekkles, just shake their head, heavy sigh. They know that that was their game.
And it would be monumental now for Fnatic to turn this series back in their favor, because there is no doubt that OG have the momentum. They have the play in their favor. They absolutely out-executed. And Rekkles, that late-game insurance, the thing that everyone thought would be the difference maker in this series, fell apart for Fnatic in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, you have a late game team fighting AD carry, but you don't have a composition built around it. Sure, you have the option, you have the hope of a perfect fight if you are Fnatic, but the snowball could not come soon enough, and they were left exposed.
And I thought at this point in the series that I would have all the answers and it would be very clear about who was going to win, and now I just have more questions than ever before. You know, halfway through that game, I'm saying throw out Sona Taric, find something else. But now when you find the victory, when Origen actually are able to execute on this composition, suddenly, Fnatic, you're down 0-2. Do you risk bans on this? Do you grab this for yourself? Because Mithy and Patrik looked so much more comfortable on that, as well as Origen as a whole, than Fnatic did.
And when you look at it, it started in the laning phase, and we saw that there wasn't the same amount of pressure without that Blitzcrank. And Hylissang on the Annie, we saw a few moments where it came through for some pretty strong team fights, but it never felt like they got the perfect wombo combo.
Yeah,
we talked about it. If you can't burst that combo down, they don't die. They never die in those fights.
Yeah, and there are clutch changes too, like the barrier on the Sona. Even then, you were getting killed in these early fights, but we saw a few crucial moments where Fnatic overreached for kills, overreached for towers, and that ended up costing them in the end, because the Origen Game 1 victory against Sona Taric, they were up 10k gold at 20 minutes. In this game, it was not that substantial of a lead, and it showed that if you can't beat them early, you can't beat the Sona Taric.
It's a terrifying combo, most certainly. I do want to take a chance to look back at that mid lane fight and kind of break down what happened here. We can see kind of some of these quintessential fights where it turns against Fnatic.
And again, it's just Rekkles gets jumped on towards right at the start, and with the sustain coming down, the invulnerability coming down, he cannot do a thing. And Fnatic's composition, while they have a lot of damage sprinkled around, they have a lot of champions that can do damage in 1v1s, in team fights, I just don't think it is the case here up against all of the survivability that Origen have at their disposal.
And if you don't get that clean shot, once again, if you don't just combo someone out right off the bat, how impossible is it to actually coordinate that fight as a team? Because half the targets you call are suddenly invulnerable. You can't even click on them. You can't do anything to these champions, and it just feels, when this bot lane takes off, if you don't shut it down, it actually just feels unstoppable.
Yeah, what it ends up feeling like is comms are very quiet during those fights, where everyone just has to be watching intently who is
Look at that
invulnerable.
drop-off.
That drop is just nuts here for Origen when they took control, but I think it comes back to this point where Fnatic had the tools to split up the map with the Baron and to close with ease. They decided, we're going to group, we're going to try and take an extra inhibitor. That cost them. And then around the Baron, again, they decided, or they couldn't decide what they wanted to do, and that was the last nail in the coffin.
An insane game, sure, most certainly, but Origen are just one win away from securing a spot in the final versus G2, and as we're gearing up for match point here in the Ahoy Arena, don't go anywhere. Sun comes in with a flash committed, first blood. TP on the backside though. Fnatic ready to turn this play. Rek'Sai moving forward. Broxah ready with a flash of his own if he needs it, but they're going to take the 1-for-1 onto Kold.
I'm coming with ult, I'm coming with ult. I'm ulted Annie, I'm ulting Annie. Annie's dead. They're going too deep. Yeah. No flash Twitch is out of the fight. Twitch is out of the fight.
No flash Aatrox. No flash Aatrox.
They're still trying to find the kill onto Hylissang. He could just get taken out with the shutdown now onto Nukeduck. That's the major damage source. Broxah taking down Patrik on the axe side, and it's going to be a wash. Absolute destruction. And Hylissang now going to look for the follow-up eyes on Twitch now. All of the damage going to come in, but the power cord is there. No, the instant QSS. Rekkles now firing free into the backline. Nukeduck desperate to get something back. OG are surviving for now. Invulnerability going to fall. Hylissang ready to get on the backside. OG need to find a win in this fight. Nukeduck stepping forward. Hylissang trying to delay the Sona. It might just be enough. OG have turned all the predictions on their head. They are set to move up to 2-0, to move up to match point versus Fnatic.